Welcome back to PedalBox on the second episode of the Great Garage Reset, where I'm trying to make this space a little bit more usable. Last time I got all of this bench reorganized. Haven't sorted finally everything that's going to go underneath it, but this time we need to tackle this end of the garage. That's the mill, the shelf, the windowsill, maybe some of the welding bench, and try and move it all around and get it a little bit more usable. So last time I was working on the garage, I had this big pile of stuff in the corner and it was all going to go up into the roof space, or a lot of it was going to, and a bunch of other stuff was going to get shifted around. And I still kind of do, but at least it's less stuff and I know what it is. All of those tools are now up top. I cleared out the space underneath the mill, got rid of all of the air tools. So this is the spray guns, this is an impact driver for the compressor. These are all the woodworking tools. I've used them a couple of times and they are way easier to get out from up there. The bandsaw is actually tucked right in the corner, which I think is a mistake, but I do need it out of the way so I can tidy the rest of the space, including under the welding bench, which is where it lived before. It might end up going back, and I do kind of regret putting it in the far back corner of that sort of upper storage roof space, but never mind. There's a bunch of other stuff. All of the car audio things are in two really useful boxes up there. There's the DA, the sanding paper, which I've got another idea for where that's going to go, and I'll come onto that in a little bit. But for now, I need to clear out all of this shelf across the back. This windowsill needs all of this junk moving, and I need to get down through the shelf under here, clear out a bit more space so that we can free the mill ready to move that across. So that's step one. Whilst the windowsill cleared off, and I have a cunning plan, I'm going to put this red unit that has all of these drawers in on this corner of the windowsill. Now the only problem with that is that red unit is 10 inches deep, and this windowsill at its absolute maximum, if I shim it up above the limit there, is barely 6.5. So that's not entirely useful, and I'm not really comfortable with having something full of drawers that extend out, sometimes at random, and don't sit particularly well, hanging that far off the edge. So I'm going to have to make a platform to try and keep that supported at the front corner. I don't think it's going to interfere with the mill and with the travel on the table. I think that will probably be okay because it's down well below where the windowsill actually sits. So next step is to make this little platform here that this will sit on, and then we can think about moving the rest of the stuff out and maybe getting the mill across. Well, the mill is in its new home and it just about clears everywhere that I need it to for now. The clearance of the welding bench is pretty close, and this handle on the back just barely misses the red tool chest. The red tool chest fits really nicely on those two little support brackets, which if I need to put an extra support in that goes all the way down to the floor, I can. The mill doesn't get in the way too badly for that, and it won't get in the way of the mill too badly either. I might move the mill a little bit further out, which will give me a bit of dead space in the back, but potentially I could put a coolant pump down there to actually run this properly with a cooling nozzle onto whatever bit I'm using on it. That would be really, really useful. And the mounting hardware sets actually fit perfectly in the top of this unit. So moving this across was a real win. I even managed to work around the fact that there's a window handle here. There are a couple of problems though that I need to address later on, not least the welding bench. So you can see why the welding bench needs to move. This handle is absolutely not going to extend out far enough. If I show you top down here, this is barely off the edge of the splash guard on this side. We've got a lot more space we need to get it across, but moving the bench down about a foot should give me all the space I need in this side. You can see how far the table sticks off with the handle out here. It's at least a foot, maybe 300 mil, and there's a lot more table to wind out as well. So we need all of that space on this side of the mill. It does also rock at the moment as well. You might be able to see that it's just a little bit more rocky than it should be. And that's even already got a shim underneath that corner. That's a piece of 1/8 inch and a piece of 16th inch under there, trying to shim it up, and it's still rocking. So I'm probably going to have to make a proper little pad to go underneath this mounting hole, and then we can actually mount the mill right the way into the concrete, which will be really useful. But otherwise, it is a much better spot for it to live in, so I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. I just need to sort out this corner now, move a bunch of things around, and I've got a new unit to go in that corner. Well, my cunning plan has a fatal flaw in it, and it is literally the flaw that's causing the problem. You might be able to see at the back, if I just hold you level, there is about a 1/2 inch drop between here and here. I'm going to grab the level in a second, but this is way out of whack. The back corner is so far up, it's rocking around a lot. It's not even tucked all the way into the corner. When it's into the actual corner, it's even worse. I also thought this was going to be a little bit deeper. I kind of measured things, and in my mind they all matched up enough, but it sits quite a long way back from this edge of the wall. And I was counting on putting the stand that I had these trolley jacks on here with boxes above it. But that's going to stick out a long way, and I know I'm going to kick it. So I'm going to think of a new idea for how to store these trolley jacks. And given the floor is so out of level in the back corner, the trolley jacks may just live in the back. They are spares, they're very rarely accessed, so they could just sit in the back there and just stack one on top of each other. And it would probably be okay. It would also mean that this would sit further out from the wall. I can put a shelf on top, like just an old bit of wood, and that gives me a much bigger area for charging batteries on, which was what I was hoping to use this for. But obviously, that's a little bit much of a wobble. Well, the jacks are in the corner now, and the level is a little bit better. It's not that far off. You can see now it's much closer to the mortar line, front to back. So it's significantly flatter where it is. I'm not even going to bother shimming it because this really doesn't rock that much at all anymore. It sits nicely up against the wall too, so it hasn't got too much room to move. I think that will do nicely. Well, I put this brace back in. I thought I had a brilliant plan. It was going to fit really nicely just above the window handle, and I could screw these in. And unfortunately, I can't. The wood is right at the bottom, just there. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to drill some holes through the plastic just a little bit higher, because these original mounting holes aren't going to work. But they are still going to be held onto the shelf. This one's still holding on really nicely. I have knocked it a couple of times and it's really not going anywhere, even with a couple of drawers open. This one's full of tooling. It is struggling to move around, so that is fantastic. But we still need to deal with these and get them back in, and that way we can tidy up some of this bench. Well, this whole section looks way better than it did before. I like how all of the drawers now fit together. They're not spread across either side of the mill. It's easier to get to them. Even with some stuff stored down in this area, they're still going to be easy enough to get to, because you should be able to stand here and get to them all right in front of the drawers. This one's not secured like it was onto the back of that big sheet of ply that was in the window, but it is now on a shelf. So the shelf should keep it a lot more stable than it was. These are all secured to that brace, so they're not going to move anywhere, at least not too badly anyway. And the shelf is short enough that I can still get access to all of the hardware for the mill for fastening things down without too much bother. There's a lot of stuff that needs to go in these drawers and get sorted out. Some of these denim bits might end up moving into the unit down here. I'm still not completely sold on the arrangement I have with the jacks down here. I would kind of like to put them both underneath the shelf like I had them before. That did work really well, and then I've got storage space on top for other things, or I can build a unit higher or whatever. There's a load of options there. I'm just not happy with this big void in the back going to waste. It feels like it could be used for something, but I don't know what would be sensible. So it might end up just staying as is, and a top getting put all the way across the back of here for all of the chargers to go on, for the Ryobi stuff, for the iron half, for everything we need in here. Can just live on here in a little charging corner, and it also keeps access to the boiler a little bit clearer rather than it being piled up with stuff. Around the mill, I still have the lamp to position somewhere. I'm not sure where that's going to go back. I have another light that I might clamp onto this shelf, but then this whole shelving arrangement might be moving as well as the welding bench moves down. But it is already quite late today. It's about 8 o'clock, and I am pretty much done for the day. I'm just going to tidy up some stuff so there's not quite as much of a trip hazard around here, and I'm probably going to call it. Well, it's another new day, and the stuff behind me on the bench has changed once again. Everything that was there before is now mostly sorted, at least kind of roughly speaking, into the areas it needs to go in. There is still a bunch of stuff that needs really fine sorting through, like all of the bolts, because there's a huge number of misc drawers behind there, which isn't really helpful for anybody. But the welding bench is now clear, other than this battery and a gearbox. Now I think I should be able to move it with the gearbox on, because I don't particularly want to move it down, and I'm just shuffling it across about 10 inches up towards the edge of this trunking. And that should be just enough space to give me enough room to use about 90% of the travel on this table. The number of times I've needed to use the entirety of the travel is exactly 0, so I'm really hopeful that that is going to be all I need. I can move the mill around, I can shuffle things if I really need a bit more, but I don't want to. But one thing I'm not going to do is fix this back to the wall before I've actually tested that to make sure. So this is just going to get shuffled down, and it's not going to get reaffixed back to the wall, just in case I need to take a little notch out and move it further than this cable trunking. The table's just fixed to the wall with 2 little brackets, one on each leg at the back, and they're positioned to hold it right up against the wall over here like this, so that in theory at least things don't fall down the back. Now that's obviously not the case, because I found lots and lots of stuff down here, but we'll move the table across and see where we get to next. And with that, the welding bench has moved across. I did not expect quite as much carnage though. I managed to snap off 2 of the heads from these screws. I mean, they're not small, they're about 3 inches long. Just completely sheared the first 2 heads off. The next one wouldn't budge at all and had to be drilled out and then snapped when I was removing it with the grips, because I snapped a drill bit trying to take it off. So I had to fish the end of the drill bit out of there and then try and remove the screw. And yeah, that was a lot of carnage. So there's nothing really all that interesting to do left in here. It's all just packing things into boxes and moving stuff around. The next interesting thing I'm going to do, which is going to be a little while from now, is packing out this drawer unit with Gridfinity. I've got some grids made up, and I need some better way to store all of the spanners and sockets that are in there, because at the moment it's in an old Halfords case that we cut to pieces and just laid out. And it kind of works, but it's not ideal. There's definitely a better way to do it, and that is grids. So that will be in the 3rd part of the Great Garage Reset, but for now, I'm really pleased with how this has come together. There is still a bunch of stuff that needs to be put away. I need to populate all of these drawers on this side and go through all of the drawers up there to sort out all of the tools, all of the sockets, all of the bolts and the nuts and the screws even. And I also need to sort through these shelves along here as well. And that's going to be very dull to watch. So I will spare you that, and in the next episode we'll slip all the way forward in time to see the finished result of tidying this. assuming I actually do it. There's a non-zero chance I won't. I'll get to the 80% complete part where we are right now and just stop. But if you want to make sure you get notified when that video goes out, don't forget you should subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below if there's anything else I should do in here that you think would help my life, other than, you know, knock it down, make a bigger garage, all of that sort of stuff. You can also support us on patreon.com/PedalBox show, where you can support any of the builds that we're doing. And you can buy any of our merch at shop.pedalbox.show, which I'm once again not wearing because I can't find where I put my last hat. I'm going to have to order new hats myself, and probably some new jumpers or hoodies as well. So thanks very much for watching once again. We will see you in the next episode on this, and in some other episode working on one of our projects. Not sure which one it's going to be. We'll see which one I edit in time. Thanks again for watching.